Trump kind of going after DeSantis. I mean, Trump, it seems like he's getting ready to run. Who knows, right? He's very good at manipulating the press. So we kind of tend to believe what he wants us to believe. But knowing Trump, I mean, why wouldn't he run again, right? He thinks he's going to win. He's obviously the most popular Republican. And he came out this week and, according to Axios, called DeSantis an ingrate with a dull personality, said he has no personal charisma. At the same time, Trump confidant Roger Stone calls DeSantis a Yale Harvard frat boy, not honest, not going to be president. Ooh. Then Trump says, you got to say if you've had the booster shot. It's gutless not to. DeSantis is the person I think he's talking about, because DeSantis won't say. He says, with respect to the booster, when asked, I've done whatever I did. The normal shot. So unclear. So, I mean, these two are probably the two, most likely, right? That the names that most often get mentioned. So what do you make of it? Do you think there's a chance DeSantis could actually unseat Trump if they both run for the nomination?
Well, I have to say, as a lifelong Republican, Megyn, who sees the country on fire, I really hate to see infighting in the Republican Party, particularly this far out from the presidential primary season and election. That being said, to answer your question, Donald Trump is still the 800-pound gorilla in the Republican Party. He controls the party. He controls the base. And he's got one thing that no other politician on the scene right now has, with the exception maybe of Barack Obama. And that is an emotional connection with his voters. Not talking ideological, not talking about a political connection. I'm talking about an emotional connection. So his voters really believe in him. This is sort of what January 6th was all about. That his voters looked at him and saw someone who championed the forgotten man and woman for 5 years, that he was there fighting for them and delivered for them while he was president. And they then saw a chance to fight for him. Right. So in this dynamic now, he's got an emotional lock on the party, on the conservative movement, and on the base, the populist base. So if he chooses to run, he will be the nominee. If he chooses not to run, then the obvious heir to the America First movement is Ron DeSantis. The problem is that, DeSantis has been hugely successful in Florida. He has shown every other governor, both blue and red, the way through COVID, through the economy, and so on. So he's got a tremendous track record to run on here if he does. Frankly, and I know President Trump doesn't want competition going into the nomination if he runs, but I think competition makes every candidate better, including Donald Trump. Trump had 20 fellow candidates in 2016. It made him a better candidate. So I say anybody who thinks that they have a shot at this and they want it, they should run. Because even if Trump ends up being the nominee, he will be a better general election candidate, having gone through that process and getting beaten up a little bit, than if he simply got coronated. And by the way, that applies to the Democratic Party as well.
I know. I think it's interesting because Trump, you have a very clear idea in your head of who he is and what he is. And you did even when he first ran, right? It's like Trump's this larger than life P.T. Barnum type figure who's an entertainer, and he's dynamic and he's great on television, and he is a ratings machine. And so he will collect a lot of attention. And we knew that going in. DeSantis, I don't know. I'm not sure. Trump, not in every single circumstance, but he's not bad at picking the one thing that's a person's weakness. You know what I mean? And for him to say dull, no charisma, I can't think of what DeSantis sounds like. What's he like in a debate? Is he colorful? Do people want boring over Trump like they did when they chose Biden? I don't know. But I think DeSantis should get himself out there more if he doesn't think that label applies, because so far it's sort of don't really have the clearest image of you and how you are on the stump. Have a very clear image of him. And if he runs, I believe Trump runs, it's his. There's nobody who can unseat him in the GOP.